Hello and welcome to SGPN's Daily Dog. I'm your host, Britton Hess, and I'm here to give you my 3 top Underdog fantasy pick'em plays every day. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy, sign up with promo code DAILYDOG, that's DAILYDOG, for a deposit bonus worth up to $250. And while we're on the subject of Underdog, I want to say that they did just announce 8 pick slips, so you can get even higher multipliers and get even bigger payouts now on Underdog than basically anywhere else. They beat the competition to the punch by adding these extra slips on Underdog Fantasy. I wouldn't say rush out and play, 8 higher than half a home run prop or plays on your slip, but I would say use some, if you do like these longer odd situations, you want to risk a little to win a lot, then definitely take advantage of the promos that Underdog has every day. I think today they've got Nick Pivetta higher than 8 plate appearances faced. If he makes it to the 3rd inning, that is happening. So that takes your 8-leg slip down to a 7-legger, which definitely is plus EV. But besides that, let's get into the show. Yesterday was a good day. We won our slip. It had a 3.2 multiplier. The first selection was Carlos Alcaraz to lose lower than 1.5 sets against Stefanos Tsitsipas. He won in straight sets. Wasn't much of a sweat. Tsitsipas did exactly what I expected, which was wilt against high-level competition. That's just kind of the player he is. He's a bully against lower-ranked players, but when he gets versus top 5, top 10 guys, he's not quite as dominant. So Carlos took care of business. I kind of wish we would have just taken lower than half a set lost, but I'm not going to cry about a winner. Let's move on to our pitcher play we had yesterday, which was Tyler Glasnow, lower than 4.5 hits against. He only allowed 3 hits. The Dodgers lost 1-0. It was a solo shot by Jack Sawinski, was the winning and only run in the game. But the Dodgers didn't need to win for this pick to deliver. Glasnow made it deep in the game, only allowed 3 hits before getting pulled, and had another dominant performance as one of the league's true aces. The last pick was my guy, Otto Lopez, who is a back-of-the-order guy for the Marlins. We had needed higher than half a total base against the Tampa Bay Rays. He did that on his first at-bat. Otto Lopez is the type of guy that I love targeting on Underdog Fantasy because his multipliers are not going to be as reduced as they are for top-of-the-order guys. You don't have to take as big of a risk on a guy like Otto Lopez as you would with Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani or Mookie Betts or guys like that. So I love targeting these back-of-the-order guys on some of these smaller market teams because that's where I find the true value on Underdog. I do want to get into my plays for today. There is a tennis play I'm eyeing, but I'm not going to give that out officially because it starts at 5:15 a.m. Pacific. It'll probably be closer to 5:30 or 6 a.m. Pacific. But that said, not many people will get a chance to see that. If you are listening early, stick around to the end of the show, and I'll give out that play there. But I do want to get into the baseball slate. All my plays today are going to be in baseball. And we're going to start out with the Mets against the Washington Nationals, who are facing Patrick Corbin. I'm going to be taking Starling Marte to have higher than 1.5 total bases versus the Nationals. And this is a 1.2x Scorcher multiplier. I think that this is a spot that we definitely can absorb that extra risk, especially after booking 2 wins in the first 2 days of this show. So Starling is extremely hot right now, and he's had multi-hit games in 4 of his last 5. He's facing a starting pitcher in the Nats, which is Patrick Corbin, who's been known to be knocked around the yard. And part of the reason why he's been known to be knocked around the yard is because Starling Marte himself has knocked him around the yard. He's got 42 at-bats against Patrick Corbin, and he's batting .310 against him. And on the year, he's batting .308 against lefties. So it's a very good matchup without the fact that we know that he sees the ball coming off of Patrick Corbin's hand well. I think that getting this as a Scorcher is great because, again, Starling Marte is not the leadoff or the top 4 in the order guy anymore. He's usually batting in the back half for the Mets, so he's not going to be targeted as high as a guy like Pete Alonso. That's why we're getting this 1.2x multiplier. So the play is higher than 1.5 total bases for Starling Marte against the Nationals and Patrick Corbin. And I did mention Pete Alonso. I don't hate him taking him over 1.5 total bases as well. But, he's a little bit of a streaky hitter, and I don't know. I just would rather get the better multiplier with Marte. Alonso is kind of a home run or nothing guy against Corbin. He's got 5 home runs against him. So I don't want to have a situation where he crushes a bunch of balls caught on the warning track and this play doesn't come home. I'd rather have the guy hitting for singles or doubles than Starling Marte. And then additionally on this game, I could see you taking the higher than 6 hits allowed for Patrick Corbin. But as a team, the Mets actually aren't that elite versus lefties. It's just a couple guys that have really good numbers versus lefties and very good numbers against Patrick Corbin. So he could get knocked up a little bit. Like he could walk a couple guys and then a couple home runs come through and the box score looks crazy. But that doesn't mean that he's going to be giving up 6 or more hits. So the play is Starling Marte higher than 1.5 total bases against the Nationals. Next, I'm going to be going to the Blue Jays against the Orioles. This game is up in Toronto. The Orioles have crushed the Blue Jays the last 2 days, and I expect that to continue. I'm going to be taking Jose Berrios to allow higher than 5.5 hits against the Orioles. Berrios has allowed 6+ hits in 4 of his last 5 games, and the one game where he didn't was at Camden Yards at the Orioles, so I should be afraid to play the Orioles in this spot, right? Because we need them to hit the ball against Berrios. In that game, the Orioles BABIP, which is batting average on balls in plays, that means when they make contact and the ball is in the field of play, was 0.56. That means if they made contact 100 times and the ball was in the field of play, they would only get 5 or 6 hits. That number is due to regress. Maybe it doesn't happen today, but I think it definitely should, given the metrics for the Orioles against lefties in general. They're top 5 in average, top 5 in BABIP against lefties as well. So they had a really unfortunate event, or a really unfortunate showing against the Blue Jays in Camden Yards a couple weeks back. I don't think that's going to continue. And also, the Blue Jays used 5 bullpen pitchers today. So even if, and 3 of them had 20+ pitches thrown. So even if Berrios is struggling and getting hit a little bit, I don't think the Blue Jays have the luxury of being able to pull him out of the game, early on. I mean, I think he's got to play 6 no matter what in this one. So I definitely think the Orioles are going to take care of business. The last little underlying exclamation point for why I love this higher than 5.5 hits allowed for Jose Berrios is that 5 guys on the Orioles roster have seen or have 15+ plate appearances against Braxton Berrios. All 5 of those guys are batting 260 or higher, but most of them are batting 300 or higher against this guy. So they see him a lot. He's a divisional foe. He doesn't necessarily play that well against this team, and the underlying metrics for the Orioles say that they are going to smash him in this spot tomorrow. And like I said, the bullpen should be a little bit tired for the Blue Jays, so they have to deal with Berrios no matter how poor the performance may be. My last play is going to be another one of my favorite type of players, kind of like in the Otto Lopez vein. It's a situational hitter. This is going to be Carlos Santana, higher than half a total base against Carlos Rodon and the Yankees. He's a lefty specialist switch hitter who is batting, I think he's only about like 260 or something against lefties this year, but he has seen Carlos Rodon a ton. He's got 42 plate appearances against him. 37 at-bats and 14 hits, which is a 378 average. Again, these teams played a couple weeks back in Minnesota, and Santana got a hit in that appearance as well. Also, Rodon is a scary name, but the pitcher that we've seen the last 2 years is not as scary as the guy who was in Cy Young conversations for about that 2-year period at the end of his career with the White Sox and then the Giants. He's not a sub-3 ERA guy anymore. He's about 309 this year, but his xFIP and FIP are in the 4s, high 4s, which means that he's probably getting a little bit lucky so far this season. I think that all we need is Santana to get on base once with a hit. I think that there's a good chance that happens. Santana also has hit homers versus this guy, so there's a good chance that he gets over the half a total base and some. Again, I love to target these guys that are in the back of orders that are kind of a little less known than some of the superstars out there, because you think you get much better value by using these guys in underdog lineups. When you put these 3 plays together, you're getting a 6.4x return, or 6.4x multiplier. That means that you are going to get almost 5.5 times your money back in profit if this hits. Like I said, we already booked a win on the week with our first 2 plays on Monday and Tuesday hitting. So this is just extra. This is extra money in the bag, and I think that this has a chance of hitting as the last 2. There's a lot of fundamentals behind these plays, and there's also a lot of situational stuff that tells me that these should be locks. Hopefully we don't have to sweat too much. If we do, I won't really mind. That makes it fun. But again, 6.4x multiplier on these 3 plays, which are Starling Marte, higher than 1.5 total bases against the Nationals. Jose Berrios to allow higher than 5.5 hits against the Orioles. And Carlos Santana to have higher than half a total base against the New York Yankees in New York. And oh yeah, I did mention that there's a tennis play I love that most people are probably not going to be awake early enough to partake in. That is Jasmine Paolini to have higher than 2 double faults against Alina Rybakina. Paolini is an underpowered player. She's an effort player. She moves on the court well, but she doesn't have much behind her ball strikes. Rybakina, again, is a serve dominant player who also moves pretty well. So Paolini is going to feel the pressure that she needs to make something happen in her service games. She's been averaging 2+ double faults in her last 2 games in the French Open. So I honestly would be so surprised if she has less than 3 double faults in this game versus Alana Rybakina. So that is it for the show today. Please subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on your podcast feed, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to give a like or a comment, that really helps the show because, we just started this 3 days ago. We've got a winning streak going, and I'm trying to blow it up. I love doing these types of making this type of content because I love digging into the nitty-gritty, and I love Underdog because they have such a deep menu. You can always find something with value if you're willing to search through all the pages and search the names of guys that you're targeting. So thanks again for watching. Have a good day, and let's try to make some more money.